In the endless velvet darkness of the universe, nestled between galaxies that swirled like spilled paint, there was a place known as the Campfire of the Stars. It wasn't a fire of wood and smoke, but one of starlight and cosmic dust, a warm and crackling heart in the cold emptiness of space. For eons, it had burned brightly, a beacon for wandering comets and a nursery for newborn stars. Its light told stories, and its warmth was a promise that even in the vast loneliness of the cosmos, there was a place to belong. But fires, even celestial ones, do not burn forever without fuel. Slowly, so slowly that at first no one noticed, the campfire of the stars began to dim. The great roaring flames of golden light softened to a gentle orange glow. The crackling laughter of supernovas quieted to a sleepy whisper. One by one, the embers that danced in its heart grew tired. They flickered, they sputtered, and they winked out, becoming cold, dark dust once more. Now only one remained. A single, tiny ember no bigger than a fallen tear. Let's call it Flicker. Flicker hovered in the center of the vast, cooling hearth, a tiny pinprick of defiant warmth against the encroaching chill. Around it lay the sleeping forms of its brethren, countless gray specks that had once shone so brightly. The darkness felt heavy, like a thick blanket pressing in from all sides. The silence was louder than any roar the fire had ever made. Flicker felt a deep, trembling loneliness, a feeling as cold as the space beyond. It shivered, and its own small light wavered, threatening to disappear forever. Hook section. Have you ever felt like a tiny spark in a big, dark place? That is how Flicker felt. Its small body held the last memory of the fire's greatness, the last echo of its warmth. It pulsed with a soft, rhythmic beat, a tiny heart of light in a dying cosmos. To give up would be so easy. To simply let the cold win, to close its tiny, shining eye and drift off into the long, silent sleep. It was a tempting thought, a whisper that promised peace and an end to the struggle. But then Flicker would pulse a little brighter, a stubborn little pulse that said, "Not yet." A gentle cosmic wind, born from the sigh of a dying nebula millions of light years away, drifted through the campfire. It was a sad, lonely wind, and it whispered stories of other fires that had faded, of other lights that had gone out. But as it passed Flicker, it stirred something deep within the ember's core. It wasn't just a memory of warmth, but the ghost of a story, a legend told by the oldest and wisest of the flames. The legend spoke of a force, a feeling, a place known as the Heart of Hope. It was said that this was the source of all light, the fuel that could restart any fire, no matter how faint. The wind whispered that the Heart of Hope was not a thing that could be easily found. It was a journey, a perilous quest across the star-strewn sky. Many had sought it. None had ever returned. For Flicker, a tiny fading speck of light, the thought was terrifying. The universe outside the campfire's hearth was vast, dark, and filled with unknown wonders and dangers. But as Flicker looked at the sleeping embers around it, a new feeling began to burn alongside its fear. It was a tiny, fierce determination. It would not be the light that went out. It would be the light that went looking. With a final resolute pulse that shone like a miniature sun, Flicker lifted itself from the hearth and drifted out into the great unknown dark. The adventure had begun. The first part of Flicker's journey was the loneliest. The familiar, gentle glow of the campfire faded behind it, and soon it was completely alone, a single orange in an ocean of black. It passed silent, sleeping planets, their faces scarred with craters and shrouded in shadow. It saw the distant, cold glitter of galaxies that were too far away to offer any warmth. The silence pressed in, and the doubt that it had tried to leave behind came rushing back. What could one tiny ember possibly do? How could its small light ever hope to find something as grand as the Heart of Hope? Just as its glow began to dim with despair, it drifted into a celestial field of enormous, slow-turning shapes. They were the constellations. The first one Flicker met was a great bear, its form outlined by colossal, ancient stars that burned with a steady, silver light. The bear was old, immensely old, and its light was wise but weary. It turned one of its great star eyes towards Flicker. A feeling of ancient knowledge flowed from the constellation. It acknowledged the ember's quest, its voice a low hum that vibrated through space. It had seen countless embers like Flicker before, full of fire and determination. It had also seen them all fade. The constellation did not offer encouragement. Instead, it offered a warning, a feeling that the universe was simply too big, and hope was too small a thing to fill it. It showed Flicker a vision, a glimpse of the infinite blackness between the stars, a void that swallowed light and warmth. It was a test, the first great challenge to Flicker's resolve. For a moment, Flicker's light faltered, shrinking in on itself as it felt the crushing weight of the constellation's cynicism. But then, Flicker remembered the cold hearth it had left behind. Giving up meant accepting that cold forever. With a surge of defiance, Flicker burned brighter, thanking the Great Bear for its wisdom but refusing its despair, and continued on its way. Its path next took it through a place of breathtaking, sorrowful beauty. It was a nebula of forgotten dreams. The space here was not empty, but filled with shimmering, swirling clouds of iridescent dust. Each speck of dust, the narrator explained, was a dream that someone, somewhere, had let go. There were soft pink clouds of forgotten childhood wishes and deep blue mists of abandoned ambitions. It was beautiful, a kaleidoscope of what could have been, but it was also profoundly sad. Drifting through the nebula felt like swimming through sorrow. The dust clung to Flicker, its coldness seeping into its warm core. Flicker's light began to sputter, coated in the residue of forgotten hopes. It was hard to shine brightly when surrounded by so much regret. It felt its own determination wavering, its own dream of finding the heart of hope feeling just as distant and impossible as the others in the cloud. If you were Flicker, would you keep going, even when you felt so tired and surrounded by sadness? It's a difficult choice, isn't it? Flicker paused, hovering within a deep purple swirl of lost love. It felt the pull to simply stop, to let its light be absorbed into the beautiful, tragic cloud and become another forgotten dream. But then it thought not of itself, but of the other embers sleeping and cold. Its quest was not just for itself. It was for them. The thought of their potential warmth, of the fire that could be, was a powerful one. It was a dream not yet forgotten. Focusing on this thought, Flicker began to pulse. With each pulse it pushed away the clinging dust, its own light a shield against the sorrow. It emerged from the other side of the nebula smaller, and a little dimmer, but its light was harder, more focused, tempered by the sadness it had passed through. Tired and worn, Flicker was about to rest when a streak of brilliant, electric blue light zipped past it, leaving a shimmering trail in its wake. It was a whispering comet, a being of pure energy and forward momentum. It circled back, intrigued by the tiny, steady glow of the ember. The comet communicated in feelings of speed and joy. It had no concept of stopping, no understanding of despair. Its existence was a constant, forward rush through the cosmos. It listened to Flicker's quest for the heart of hope, but the idea of a single stationary place that held all hope seemed strange to it. The comet could not point the way to any such place. Instead, it offered Flicker a different kind of wisdom. With a flash of its tail, it created a brilliant, temporary path of light through the darkness. It showed Flicker that light wasn't just something you had, it was something you did. It was the trail you left behind, the path you made by moving forward. Hope, the comet seemed to suggest, wasn't a destination to be found. It was the journey itself. The act of moving, of trying, of shining your light as you went, that was hope. The comet's energy was infectious. Watching its brilliant, fearless flight, Flicker felt a new strength surge within it. The comet's message was a revelation. Flicker had been searching for a thing, an object, a place. But maybe hope was a feeling. Something you created inside yourself. After a grateful farewell, Flicker continued on, no longer just searching, but now trying to be the hope it was looking for. Flicker's journey was nearing its final and most terrifying test. It felt a strange, powerful pull, a gentle but irresistible tug towards a region of absolute blackness. There were no stars here. No light of any kind. It was a perfect void, a hole in the fabric of space. Flicker had arrived at the edge of a black hole's event horizon, the place from which nothing, not even light, could escape. This was the embodiment of utter hopelessness. It was the universe's final word on despair, a place where all struggle ceased, and everything came to an end. The pull was immense, not just physical but emotional. It promised an end to the lonely journey, an end to the struggle of staying warm, an end to the weight of its quest. It whispered, "Just let go. Give up. Rest." Flicker's light, which had burned so defiantly, was reduced to a tiny trembling pinpoint. The cold was absolute. The darkness was complete. Every part of it wanted to surrender, to finally extinguish its tiny flame and be done. It felt the memories of the great campfire, the wisdom of the constellation, the sorrow of the nebula, and the joy of the comet all being pulled away from it, stretched into thin threads and consumed by the nothingness. It was at the very edge of oblivion, the point of no return. What do you think is the one happy thought you would use to keep your light shining bright in the darkest place imaginable? For Flicker, as it hung on the precipice of nothing, a single, clear image bloomed in its mind. It was the image of the campfire of the stars, not as it was cold and dying, but as it could be. It saw a great roaring joyful fire, filled with dancing embers, all glowing with warmth and light and togetherness. It saw itself, not alone, but as one of many, sharing its light, its warmth making the other embers brighter, and their brightness making it stronger. It was a vision of shared joy. In that instant Flicker understood. The heart of hope was not a place. It was not a magical star or a cosmic artifact. The heart of hope was this very feeling. It was the ability to see light in the darkness. It was the choice to believe in a better tomorrow, even when standing at the edge of forever. It was the love for others that fueled the desire to keep your own light burning. Hope was not something you found. It was something you made. With this realization, something inside Flicker shifted. It stopped fighting the pull of the black hole. Instead, it used all of its remaining energy for one single magnificent pulse of light. It was a flash of pure, concentrated hope, a defiant firework against the absolute black. The flash was so bright, so powerful, that it acted like a tiny rocket, pushing Flicker away from the event horizon. It broke free from the grip of despair, no longer a lost ember, but a tiny determined star. It had faced the ultimate darkness and had chosen to shine. The journey back was different. Flicker was no longer a seeker, but a bearer. It carried the heart of hope within its own core. The cosmos no longer seemed so lonely or frightening. The darkness was not an enemy to be feared, but a canvas on which to paint light. Flicker zipped past the sad nebula, and this time, its light did not dim. Instead, it left a trail of warmth that caused some of the dust motes to glitter with a faint, renewed glow. It passed the Great Bear constellation, and this time, it dipped in a greeting not of a supplicant, but of an equal. The old stars of the bear seemed to hum with a newfound respect, their weary light looking just a little bit brighter. Finally, Flicker saw it in the distance. The place that was once its home. The campfire of the stars. It was even dimmer than when it had left, now just a faint collection of gray, cold ash in the void. There was no light left at all. But Flicker felt no despair. It only felt a great, swelling purpose. It did not simply rejoin the hearth and add its small glow to the emptiness. That would not be enough. Instead, it began to dance. It soared and dipped and swirled above the sleeping embers. It painted patterns of light in the darkness, leaving trails of golden warmth. It was a dance of joy, a dance of resilience, a dance of pure, unshakable hope. Its light was no longer just the small, lonely warmth of a single ember. It was infused with the memory of the comet's joy, the wisdom of surviving the nebula's sorrow, and the strength of overcoming the black hole's despair. It was a powerful, magnificent light, and it shone down on the cold ashes below. First, nothing happened. But Flicker did not stop. It danced with all its might, sharing the story of its journey through its movements and its radiant glow. Then, one of the cold specks of dust near the center trembled. A tiny, faint, almost invisible spark ignited within it. It was the memory of warmth. Then another sparked. And another. The light from Flicker was contagious. Its hope was a warmth that was more than just heat. It was a reminder. It reminded the sleeping embers what it felt like to be a fire. It woke them up not with a command, but with an invitation. Slowly, a soft, warm pulse began to beat from the center of the hearth. It was the combined glow of a few dozen embers, then a few hundred, then a few thousand. The campfire of the stars was not roaring back to life in a great inferno. It was waking up, like a giant sleepy creature, with a gentle collective glow. The light was soft, warm, and welcoming. Flicker settled among them, no longer the last ember, but one of the first embers of a new, stronger fire. It was a fire built not just on starlight, but on the powerful, unshakable foundation of shared hope. Flicker had learned the greatest secret of the cosmos, that the darkest night isn't a sign that the light has gone out, but a chance for even the smallest spark to show how brightly it can shine. And by shining, it can remind all the other lights how to shine too. Flicker learned all about the power of hope. But soon, a new challenge will arrive at the campfire of the stars, a shadow that will test not their light, but their bravery. It is a challenge that will require a different kind of strength, the strength of courage. And that, Cuddleco kids, is a story for another night. Educational core. This story teaches children that hope is an internal feeling of optimism and resilience that you can choose to cultivate, even when circumstances are difficult. Moral core. This story shows that you should never give up hope, as even the smallest spark of light and determination can inspire a great change.